Thanks for joining us for the latest instalment of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series, presented by Brabham Automotive. We're at Silverstone and we'll be using the international layout for what's the fourth of 6 rounds. After qualifying, the racingriggs.co.uk starting grid reveals that the stunning Brabham BT62s of David Brabham and Scott Stevenson have locked out the front row, the ex-Formula 1 driver claiming pole by just 7 thousandths of a second. Following a double podium last time out at Brands Hatch, Jack Fabi lines up just behind in the Praga R1T, with 3-time podium finisher Morgan Short for company in the BMW. On row 3, Brands Hatch winner Bobby Trundley in the McLaren and 3-time race winner Will Powell. Meanwhile, Alan Remius claims his first Class 2 pole in the GF Williams Lotus, while the driver that's been dominating the category, Charles Rainford, starts this one from the back. Visit racingriggs.co.uk for some great deals on professional sim racing equipment. So the cars are lined up and we're about to get the first of 2 races underway. Ex-Formula 1 star Rubens Barrichello was planning on joining today's race, but has been called away at the last minute. But he's definitely hoping to join us for a race later in the season. We are, though, delighted to welcome on board our new sponsor, Trico, who've been leaders in wiper blade technology for more than 100 years. In fact, Trico's the company that invented the wiper blade, and they've been long-term supporters of Sarah Moore and the championship-winning Tockwith Motorsports team for a number of years. Okay then, red lights on, they're about to go out, we're about to go racing, and on pole position, getting the race underway, the blue and yellow Brabham of David Brabham is going to lead into turn 1 from Scott Stevenson, coming under fire from Jack Fabi. He's contact, and Fabi in the grey Praga is sent out wide. So it's David Brabham that leads for the first time on the brakes into Village Corner. It's going to be Scott Stevenson in second place. A good start for Morgan Short to third. Will Powell, I reckon, has gained a couple of places from 6th up to 4th place. And a position gained as well from Bobby Trundley, who's in 5th place. Let's have a look at that again. Now keep your eye to the green Brabham of Scott Stevenson to the left of the picture. He's going to come across. He's going to find Jack Fabi is there in the grey Praga. And there was the contact, Fabi going off. And we didn't see how deep into the gravel trap he went, but he's surely going to drop back far, far away. Yeah, 19th position for Jack Fabi. So work to be done for the driver that was twice on the podium last time out at Brands Hatch. For the end of the first lap around the international circuits, David Brabham leading by just over half a second from his teammate Scott Stevenson. Morgan Short third, Will Powell with a good start in 4th place in the orange Brabham. There is Jack Fabi. He's just gone past Peter Spano's Porsche, so that puts him up to 18th place, and he's about to gain another one as well. He goes past Chris Bentley in his Seat. Chris, one of the real-life racers in the Britcar Endurance Championship. Jack is about to get his first taste of real-life Britcar Endurance racing with the VR Motorsport team in a Praga at Croft as the season looms. But here in the E-Series, we've got a good battle going on here between Morgan Short and Will Powell for 3rd place. Morgan has had 3 third place finishes. Will Powell has had 3 race wins, all on the bounce. But last time out at Brands Hatch, it was a bit of a non-starter for him after he had a failure on his racing rig in the qualifying session. He wasn't able to take part in either of the races, so he'll be keen to get back in amongst them, and he'll be keen to get ahead of Morgan Short as quickly as possible, though he's just dropped back a bit at the end of that lap and is falling more deeply into the clutches now of Bobby Trundley in the Team Brit McLaren. So 3rd, 4th, 5th go through. Then it's the first of the Pragas, which is now Warren McKinley, the red machine, in 6th place. Also putting a lap on one of the Tockwith Motorsports Ginettas, which has had a bad start to the race. Now Bobby Trundley getting a better run through Village Corner. They go through the link. They rejoin the Grand Prix circuit momentarily to head on to the Hanger Straight. Here they go then down the long straight. Stowe Corner coming up might provide an opportunity for Bobby Trundley to try and find a way through. Getting closer in the mirrors is Warren McKinley as well. And just behind them, Alex Day in his Mercedes in 7th place. Brake discs glowing, Bobby Trundley pushing hard, but the Brands Hatch race winner can't find a way through just yet. All the time, the top 2 are getting away, and also Alex Day is catching them up, like in that yellow Mercedes. So Alex, who's raced in Britcar himself and a former Ginetta Junior racer, doing a good job here. On the graphic, James Bentley has gained a place from Gemma Moore in Class 2. James Rainford leads the category in 9th place overall. Then it's Charles Rainford from the back of the field, already up to 12th and 2nd in the category, and James Bentley next up. Jack Fabi into the top 10 now as well. There he goes in the Praga, coming through the Class 2 cars. His next target is going to be that Seat of James Rainford, the Class 2 leader, and then he'll be focusing on trying to catch his rivals in Class 1. There's fifth place driver Bobby Trundley, still homing in on Will Powell. Kicking up the dust just behind is Warren McKinley, who has had a number of appearances in an Aston Martin in Britcar. He's going to be driving the Praga this year, and he's looking very pacey in the red machine just behind Bobby Trundley, having a look at the inside on the way to Stoke Corner, but there was no way through. Leaders go through. Still not very much between David Brabham and Scott Stevenson, just 0.8 of a second as it stands. No change in that battle for third, but going deep into the braking zone through Vale and through Club Corner was Will Powell. He's got away with it, but it was a bit scruffy that, and then he's lost some ground luck to the BMW. So suddenly Morgan Short is able to break clear of this squabble. Powell still being hunted down by Bobby Trundley and Warren McKinley as they flash through the shot at Abbey Corner. Coming then into the right-hander, hard on the brakes into Village Corner, and a lurk around the outside for Bobby Trundley. He's a bit later on the brakes. He rides the curbs as he comes out of the turn, heads towards the link. And we'll see how the Praga gets on as well. Huge downforce on the Praga R1Ts in real life, and the handling of that car should enable it to get very close coming onto the straights, which it does, and he'll now get a bit of a tow as well, Warren McKinley. So Trundley forced now to defend the inside line as they come towards the end of the straight. There's James Rainford, a glimpse of him still leading Class 2 in 10th place. He has lost a position to Jack Fabi, but still leads the category. Right, Bobby Trundley, did he fend off Warren McKinley? The answer is yes, he did, just about. There are the two leaders coming up to complete another lap in this 30-minute race. David Brabham and Scott Stevenson nose to tail as they come into Abbey. David Brabham, former Grand Prix racer and Le Mans winner, also British Formula 3 race winner, and competed all around the world in sports cars, and prior to that in single seaters when he raced in things like the All Japan Formula 3 Championship with great success. Alex Day coming under fire from the Praga of Jack Fabi here. Remember, Jack came to grief going into turn 1, dropped to about 19th place in the race. He's flown through the Class 2 cars. He's now homing in on the Class 1 cars, and he's caught up to Alex Day in this yellow Mercedes. So this is the battle for 8th place. He's all over him coming out. It's onto Angus Straight, so the Mercedes is going to hog the inside line, switching to the outside line and trying to get through is the Praga. Jack Fabi's got his nose in front, and I think he'll get through. As we cut back to the leaders, because Morgan Short up to second, Will Powell third, Bobby Trundley fourth, all because Scott Stevenson, luck in the green Brabham BT62, has dropped back at the end of the lap. So may have had an off, may have had a go at trying to pass the race leader. Alex Day getting back alongside and ahead of Jack Fabi in that battle for 8th place as they flash through shot going into Club Corner. So terrific dicing going on. Now David Brabham suddenly then, after all of that, has got nearly a 5-second lead. Morgan Short, Will Powell, Bobby Trundley all promoted, and Warren McKinley has gone through as well. So going backwards, Scott Stevenson down to 6th place. In fact, position graphic keeps changing for those two. This is why they've been side by side for a couple of corners. McKinley has got the job done though before they get to the braking zone through the right-hander at Stoke Corner. So it is down from 2nd to 6th place now for Scott Stevenson, the race engineer for Brabham Motorsport. He's only once been to the UK, and that was at the end of last year to help as race engineer for the BT62s on its debut in the Britcar Endurance E-Series, which the team won. So Scott Stevenson so far has only been to the UK once, and apparently all he's seen is the insides of an airport, the inside of a train, the inside of a hotel, and the inside of the Brands Hatch garage. So Scott is keen one day to come back and actually see the country. Now in the background there was a spin, I reckon it was Alan Remius. Yes it was, he's dropped down to 23rd place in the Lotus behind Jake Little. A shame for Alan because he went really well in qualifying. The race not going so well, and Warren McKinley has dropped back behind Scott Stevenson according to the graphic on the left side of the picture, and he's just dropped behind Isaac Rain. So 2 places lost for Warren. Something's gone wrong for him in the Praga, and that now puts Scott Stevenson back to 5th. Isaac Rain up into the top 6 for what I reckon is the first time in the race. You're looking at the red and white Tockwith Motorsports Ginetta of Gemma Moore, who came into the series late into the first couple of rounds, but Gemma, who's no mean racer herself, doing a decent job here. James Rainford, Charles Rainford and Mo Ritson, also Tockwith Motorsports, the top 3 in the category in Class 2. Gemma running well in 4th place ahead of James Bentley now in the Seat. Making his Britcar E-Series debut, another Tockwith car, that is Greg King. I think that was the car that was being lapped early on in the race, but Greg has got back up towards the top 25 now. It's a packed grid here. Now look at this, it's all tightened up again in the battle for what's 2nd place now between Morgan Short, Will Powell and Bobby Trundley. And here comes Will Powell on the attack around the outside at the end of the Hanger Straight. Morgan Short in the Royal Centre BMW is going to have none of that though. He doesn't make any mistakes under braking. Doesn't get distracted by the flash of orange alongside him, but here he comes again on the exit to the corner over the curbs. Will Powell has forced the line. He's going to have the inside on the way into Vale, and Club through he goes in the BT62. But Morgan Short fighting back, and so too Bobby Trundley. They both get ahead of Will Powell, too deep into the corner. He drops behind all three of them. Bobby Trundley over the curbs gets ahead of Morgan Short. So he gets to the head of the trio. All the time they're lapping as it goes on. Somehow they avoid contact, and Bobby Trundley comes out on top. Fantastic dicing that between all three of them. And it's not over yet. Peter Sparno being lapped by Bobby Trundley. You've got Morgan Short trying to put a lap on the Porsche as well, but not yet through. He's going to have to try and squeeze past as they go through the link, and he'll do that before they go through the right-hand part. But Will Powell got a better run, and he's going to be back on the case of the BMW as they go onto the Hanger Straight. A spin, I'm afraid, for Greg King in the 127 Tockwith Motorsports Ginetta. Hopefully he'll recover. Any changes in this battle for second place? No, not yet. And also look at the British Racing Green coloured BT62 Scott Stevenson coming into the picture once again after his earlier mishap. He's lapped Peter Sparno and looking pretty rapid at the moment. So Scott trying to catch up the group. The Australian, the man from Adelaide, should be one to watch, I reckon, over the next couple of laps. Isaac Rain still 6th, Warren McKinley still 7th, Jack Fabby in 8th, but only a second and a half behind Warren McKinley now, and it's Alex Day 9th. James Rainford leading the Class 2 runners in 10th place, 3.8 seconds clear of his son Charles Rainford, who's won the last 4 races on the trot in the category. Or let's say recovering Darren Cook in the Team Brit Ginetta. So Darren's had a spin coming onto the Hanger Straight, and that puts him down to 25th place. Incidentally, Ben Sharridge in the yellow Glickenhaus, teammate to Isaac Rain for Mac G Racing, 24th. I think he had a spin early on in the race at the end of the Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner. So yeah, here he is, Ben Sharridge. He's normally one of the front runners in this series. He's had a number of top 6 finishes, but with work to do here. That's Alan Ramius, who we saw in the background having a spin coming out of Abbey and towards Farm Curve a few laps ago. So he's down to 23rd place now. It's just been a change for 19th. David Farrow has got ahead in his Ginetta of the Sad of Chris Bentley. Right, Tockwith Motorsport Ginettas fly over the curb cam. And we go to Jake Little now, who's not having one of his best runs here. Jake is a driver that's been pushing for podiums in Class 2, but the Ginetta at the moment way out of the top 6 of the category. Mo Ritson in the plain liveried Ginetta, getting onto the tail of Gemma Moore. Mo Ritson, who competed very successfully in the Britcar Dunlop Endurance Championship for Tockwith Motorsports. The youngster harassing now the 888 numbered car, but as yet not finding a way through. At the end of the straight, Gemma Moore in turn is trying to focus on the yellow, red and white Ginetta of Shane Stoney just ahead of her. Shane's had a number of podium finishes and has been very successful in the Britcar E-Series so far, and Shane in turn is on the case of James Bentley. So good battling going on here. That bright green James Bentley Seat flashing over the start-finish line. Mo Ritson was trying to pull out and have a look on the way around the outside at Abbey Corner to try and get past the Tockwith Ginetta of Gemma Moore, but Gemma fending him off. So great battle going on here, or at least developing in Class 2. There at the head of that group is James Bentley. Darren Cook's had an off, and it looks like a recovering Purple Praga as well. So that will be Alistair Bolton down in 15th place. Yeah, Alistair's dropped a few positions. He's actually was ahead of this group. He's dropped behind 3 of them. So it's Praga now that's trying to power its way back through. It's got ahead of Stoney. It's got ahead of Bentley. This green 122 numbered Seat, and gains very quickly a couple of those places back. So Alistair Bolton coming through in 13th place. That will put him. That's a Tockwith Ginetta which is in the process of recovering as well, just ahead of this battle in Class 2 that we've been watching. Right, this is the battle for the lead of the category between father and son, James and Charles Rainford, historic racers, and they're also coming up to be lapped by the overall race leader, so this could be interesting. David Brabham looming in the mirrors. Here we go though, the change for Class 2. Charles Rainford in the Ginetta goes through. He's come to the back of the field, up into 10th place overall now, and leads the category. In addition to getting these Class 2 wins, and as I say, he's had 4 of them on the spin, 2 at Silverstone when we were last here around the Grand Prix circuit, and 2 last time out at Brands Hatch. In amongst that, he's also been getting into the top 10 overall, his highest overall finish, a pretty impressive 8th place. The race leader lapping them as James Rainford gets back ahead of his son. Well, there was a bit of confusion in the traffic there as they were being lapped, but very quickly Charles in the Ginetta back at the inside on the way through Stowe Corner, although James is fighting back. They're enjoying this, father and son. Side by side once again it's going to be on the way into Vale and Club. Trying to get his nose in front is the set of James Rainford. He's done so, but he's on the wrong line coming out of the corner, and Bobby Trundley is getting frustrated by this, in second place overall, trying to put a lap on the battle for the lead in Class 2. He does it, he whizzes by with more power. Charles Rainford still just about has his nose in front, coming towards the right-hander at Abbey. The Ginetta of Charles Rainford just fends off the Seat of James Rainford. Terrific dice it is developing into, though. Charles caught him up pretty quickly, but he's certainly not been able to shake him off since getting his nose in front. So James Rainford still sticking with him in the Seat. James had a class win in the very first round of the series at Spa. It was a 1-2 between them, actually, with Charles finishing in second place in a different car, in a different livery back then. They continue to rage on with that battle. We go back to Scott Stevenson then, the Australian race engineer for Brabham, and he's caught Morgan Short, and Morgan Short is behind Will Powell. So Will Powell will be watching all the other drama. He's got himself up to third place. I'm not sure it's going to be for long though, because Morgan Short diving up the inside on the way into Stowe. Yeah, the BMW back through, back into third place. Coming up to a lot of traffic though. Scott Stevenson has reeled them in the green Brabham BT62. A bit deep through Vale again, but better on the exit this time for Will Powell. He draws alongside Morgan Short, who I think had his exit compromised by James Rainford. They get past Charles Rainford, the Class 2 leader. It's going to be three abreast almost on the way to Abbey Corner. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Hold your breath. It's Will Powell that gets there first, then Morgan Short, and just behind them there Scott Stevenson. So terrific battle for the final place on the podium with just over 9 minutes of the race to go. Looking at the inside again on the way into Village Corner is the orange BT62 of Will Powell, the three-time race winner in the E-Series. Here's a replay as they went three together going through the traffic. Will Powell in the middle of the pack, but he braved it out on the brakes on the way into Abbey to get his nose in front. And this is the battle for fourth in Class 2 as Gemma Moore launches one down the inside at Village Corner, and a great move to put the Trico-backed Ginetta ahead of James Bentley and the Seat. James, though, trying to come back at her as they come into the right-hand part of the link, make their way towards the Hanger Straight, and contact between James Bentley and Chris Clark in the BMW. James does very well to avoid going into a full rotation there. Chris Clark, who's in a Class 1 BMW Z4, gets ahead of Gemma Moore as well, and that will put him up into 14th place. Gemma Moore 15th, but she's still 4th in class because she's still ahead of James Bentley. Here's a replay then. Keep an eye on the BMW, trying to get up the inside here of James Bentley. He got the line. James Bentley had gone out wide. I think he was probably more concentrated on the Ginetta ahead. The door was left slightly ajar. The BMW didn't hesitate. Contact followed, but James did well the way he went on the grass to avoid a spin. Right, the race leader, David Brabham, is now 6.3 seconds clear of Bobby Trundley, who you're watching in the white Team Brit McLaren, putting a lap on Peter Spano. Bobby in turn nearly 2 seconds clear of the battle for third that we've been watching between Morgan Short. Scott Stevenson now 4th, Jack Fabby 5th, Warren McKinley 6th, Isaac Rain 7th. What's happened to Will Powell? He's down to 8th place. Here he is in the background in the orange BT62. That's Isaac Rain in 7th, so Will Powell has dropped out of that battle for the podium positions and has had a big issue somewhere. That's lost him an awful lot of time. 10-11 seconds I think he's lost in total. You've now got, going side by side, Mo Ritson and James Bentley coming out of club, and they're still going to be side by side over the line. Mo Ritson briefly had his nose in front, but James Bentley has got maybe a bit more grunt in the straight line and gets the place back on the way through Abbey. So Bentley on the back foot a little bit at the moment, having dropped behind Gemma Moore, then had that contact with Chris Clark. And now under real fire from the 112 number Ginetta on Mo Ritson, who's going to lunge up the inside. He had thought about it on the way through the left-hand part of the link as they lead the Grand Prix circuit, cut the corner, and then rejoin on the other side of Beckett's, essentially joining at Chapel, and then back onto the Hanger Straight. So good battles all the way through the field here in both classes. We go back to Morgan Short. Talking of good battles, this is another one. It's for the final place on the podium. The top two positions look to be sorted. Well, you never know in the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series presented by Brabham Automotive, because we've had lots of late changes in these races so far this season. But it does look like Brabham and Trundle look to be sorted for the top two positions. Although in which order, not sure, because the gap has come down over the last lap or two to just under 4 seconds at one point. It was nearer 7 seconds not very long ago, so keep an eye on that. But we have got this battle for third place between Morgan Shorts, Scott Stevenson, and Jack Fabi has joined them now, hasn't he, in the grey Praga. Remember, he's come well, not quite from the back of the field after coming off at Abbey and turn 1, but he was a long way down at the tail end of the top 20. He's got himself onto the tail of the BT62 in the background. Will he have a lunge on the way into Village Corner? Waiting for them to come in shots. Yes, he's got through. So Jack Fabi ahead of Scott Stevenson. That puts him all the way up to 4th place now. Can he get on the podium for the 3rd time running? He's not very far away. He's going to be frustrated to get all the way through the pack and just miss out on the podium. He's still got 3.5 minutes to try and find a way past Morgan Short to make sure that he doesn't go away disappointed. So 4th place for now. Terrific effort, come what may, but can he get a podium to follow up for the 2 second place finishes that Jack, who's another driver that's going to be joining us in the Real World Britcar Endurance Championship this year, can he get another podium finish? Sure, he's going to give it absolutely full beans to try and do so. He might have done it. Where's the BMW gone? There was a lock-up just off shot going into Vale. Yeah, he's dropped back. Morgan Shorts dropped 2 places, in fact. So he's gone off briefly, I think, but he's gone off nonetheless through Club Corner. So Jack Fabi now 3rd. He's on the podium. 4th place, Scott Stevenson, down to 5th. Morgan Shorts, 6th place, Warren McKinley. Isaac Rain still 7th ahead of Will Powell. Alex Day 9th, and Charles Rainford pulling away now from James Rainford's 10th place in the Class 2 lead, watching the blue BT62 of David Brabham, the 2009 Le Mans 24-hour winner, pushing hard through the traffic as well he needs, because Bobby Trundley is absolutely flying in these closing stages. In the McLaren, he's got the gap down from 6.7 seconds about 4 or 5 laps ago to just 1.2 seconds now. Just over 2 minutes remaining. It's just over a minute a lap, so there could be 3 laps to go potentially. Depends when they get to the line, maybe 2 actually. 2 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock. It's just over a minute for a lap. Minute and 2 in qualifying was the best time that we had. Yeah, I reckon this is going to be the penultimate lap. We won't quite have time for a 3rd, so that's good news for David Brabham, I think, and bad news for Bobby Trundley. He's going to have a bit less time than he thought to try and get the job done. So Bobby Trundley, race winner at Brands Hatch. He was also a class winner when he was in Class 2 at the start of the season at Spa. Spa was where David Brabham got his first overall win in the inaugural round of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series presented by Brabham Automotive. So they are both race winners. They are both looking for their 2nd wins of the season, and there's not much between them at all. It's been a response, though, from David Brabham on this lap. Bobby Trundley has held on to him, but not really closed the gap, maybe fractionally in the middle sector, but not by much, only by 0.5 of a second or so. So he might be relying on traffic to try and slow David Brabham up here. Remember, it's around about a minute and 2, minute and 3 seconds for the very quick cars to do a lap, and there's only a minute 6 seconds left on the clock, and they're only just going through Club Corner. So by the time they get to the line, it's going to be tight, this, but with just about a minute to go, I think this will be the last lap of the race. So into Abbey Corner for what I reckon will be the final time for David Brabham. Hot on his heels now, just over a second behind his Bobby Trundley. Coming up to Chris Clark's BMW, trying to go around the outside of him, and doing so is David Brabham. Where will the traffic lie for Bobby Trundley? It won't, because he spins before he gets there. Pushed a bit too hard on the exit. Loses the back end of the McLaren, and he's going to lose 2nd place because through comes Jack Fabi. What a result this is going to be. From 19th at one stage to 2nd place for Jack Fabi. A few laps to go, he was 4th. We're wondering if he could make the podium. Well, he's been gifted it really, because the 2 ahead that were ahead of him have both had spins. Here's a replay of the spin for Bobby Trundley. He just got away from him. He almost held that. He did recover it quickly, but not quickly enough to fend off Jack Fabi. So it'll be a clear run to the checkered flag, his 2nd win in the series for David Brabham. He crosses the line. In the background, it's going to be 2nd place for Jack Fabi. Bobby Trundley will have to settle for 3rd place, and this is Charles Rainford. Despite the problems in qualifying and starting up on the back of the field, this is going to be a quintet of race victories in Class 2. Charles Rainford takes the CCK Ginetta out of the final corner and takes the checkered flag. Here's confirmation of the final results, with Brabham, Fabi and Trundley taking the overall top 3, and Charles Rainford joined by Father James and Shane Stoney on the Class 2 podium. Join us next time for action from race 2 here at Silverstone. Until then, stay safe everyone. Bye for now.